appreciate it.
That's right, friends. Dave Robinson with the Onder Media Network. We're here at the heart of the Writers Symposium here at GenCon2016. Seated beside me is Marc Tassin, the evil genius behind the Writers Symposium. Yes.
As I have foreseen it.
You are all dancing to my strings. Yes. This is the 6th year?
This is my 5th year running it, and it's the 22nd year of the Writers Symposium.
Really? 26? I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yes, it's been around for a long time.
That's amazing. But really, I think in recent years, and dare I say, when you took it over, Marc, it really began to become elevated in the context of its importance and significance in the Gen Con experience.
Right, I sort of changed the focus of it so that we sort of took a different approach, and since then we've been growing quite a bit. We've gone from roughly about 700 or so unique visitors to last year, we don't have the numbers for this year, but last year we had 2,700 unique visitors just coming to Writers Symposium panels.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, and part of that has to do with the constellation of stellar luminaries you gather to give these fabulous presentations and panels.
Right, we've had over 80 authors and experts this year, ranging from New York Times bestsellers like Robin Hobb, our guest of honor, Kelly Armstrong, Patrick Rothfuss, to experts. We have a guy from an ex-State Department guy who talks about writers and talking about warfare and modern warfare and things like that. We've got medieval cooks. We've got everything you can imagine to help writers learn what they need to learn.
I need to talk to those medieval cooks. That could be a lot of fun.
They bring food. It's fantastic.
Free food for
yes,
we're
you
there.
Can come back and speak at the con anytime.
That's right. Yes. That's right. Writers and free food. That that and booze. It all goes together.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, we're exploring, Marc, through this whole process of Gen Con. We're looking at the modern storyteller.
Right.
And I think really the growth and prevalence of the Writers Symposium here at Gen Con kind of speaks to that transformation that games are undertaking, that storytelling is undertaking. In games, we were talking to Merle Lafferty the other day, and she said, I had never gotten a crush on a computer game character until Dragon Age. When you start talking about how the characters and the narratives of those game stories have evolved so much, and Mass Effect getting royally yelled at by the community because of the ending of their stories. So there are new opportunities, new ways of telling stories for writers these days, new ways to engage with the process. What have you observed? I mean, your background, in addition to, is this correct? Opera performance was your degree?
That was my degree, opera performance. Yes.
Theater majors for the win, man. We're everywhere. But since then, you're an author, you're a game designer, you have massive geek cred with your development background. What are you observing as far as how storytellers, the narratives and the forms of those narratives are changing?
Yeah, I think that's what's fascinating to me is the changing view of where stories are told, how authors tell stories individually. Where in the past you might have an author who is a novelist, or you had an author who was writing for a role-playing game. But now there's this expectation that the IP, the intellectual property, is going to be crossing over into these other mediums.
Through transmedia, yes.
Exactly, right? So when an author writes a novel, in the back of their mind now they're thinking, well, this could end up as a graphic novel, or a video game, or a card game, or a role-playing game. And I think that that's impacting the way authors tell stories, because as they write, those sorts of ideas are in the back of their minds, or perhaps their publisher is reminding them of those ideas as well, right?
Sure, absolutely. And because all of those media are so accessible now through the digital age, anyone can effectively create an audiobook for their novel. They can literally sit down with an iPhone and record and put that out there in the world. There's the video capabilities now are incredibly accessible. Does it change the narrative, do you think, when you start considering, I want this to be a graphic novel? Because graphic novels have a very different tone as you explore that. Does that change the narrative?
I think it does, and I don't know if that's a good thing. Because, I mean, one of the things that you've seen is that some things translate very well to, say, screen, and others simply don't. And the reality, though, is that the original form of that story was amazing and beautiful, which is why someone so desperately wanted to transfer it to the screen, but it just doesn't translate. But unfortunately, I think what sometimes might be happening is we've got authors who are thinking about that up front, and they might not take the risk of a story that can't crossover. And so I hope that authors continue to think about their storytelling in terms of the story and let the marketing piece go away from it.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
Because really, when you start playing to the medium,
right,
before honoring the story, you end up with weak story.
Right.
Or you can end up with weak story.
Exactly.
You know.
And I think the best authors, though, are still doing that, but I think that there's a temptation there that when you're thinking, well, how am I going to pay the bills? Well, if I change the story a little bit, I could make a great video game out of this as well.
Sure. Well, and that's the other thing, is that, we've seen, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Harry Potter novels, so much of speculative media, as it translates from one media to another, the tone, the quality of the narrative changes.
Right.
And that an adaptation from one media to another is an art form in and of itself, I think.
Right, exactly.
So finding those skills, where do you find the skills? Oh, I guess it's about community.
Right. Well, and it's about community. First, I would recommend, somewhat biasedly, they attend the Writers Symposium.
Absolutely.
Last year we did a comic writing track. This year we did a video game writing track.
Really?
I hope to be doing a screenwriting track in the future. Because, the other side of that coin of saying, well, they're changing the story to it can be adapted to different areas, are movies that open with a prologue that's in a comic book, or a video game that tells that side story you never got to tell. It actually are lots of great opportunities there as well, where you can really utilize those to tell a richer, bigger, more amazing and intriguing story using all of those. And so that's why we do all of the different types of writing here at the Writers Symposium, because authors need to be thinking about that, and there is value in it as well.
Very much so. Very much so. I'm reminded of the director's cut for Dune.
Yes.
Where they had that big long prologue that got you introduced into the world. And the other thing that intrigues me is the capability to, instead of telling a broader story through these other medias, actually telling a smaller one. I'm thinking of like the Netflix treatment for the Daredevil series.
Right.
Which felt very much, was wonderful.
Right.
But also kind of scraped away a lot of the big epic stage of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and created a very intimate engagement with the characters.
Right. And you see that with authors here as well, because the ability to self-publish, for example, the ability to put something out there lets an author tell a story that maybe a big publisher can't afford to take a risk on.
Right.
And yet it's still a story that should be out there. It should be accessible. And by creating all these new opportunities, we have ways to get those stories to readers, and we're all richer for it.
Very much so. And that really is, that's kind of the grassroots revolution.
Right.
Because the writers can take those risks, because I think it was Merle Lafferty who was observing that the threshold of success for an individual writer is much lower than that of a publishing company.
Right, exactly.
So you can be a success as a writer with your narrative, taking your chances, and not have to rely upon a big publisher backing you on that. But then that can also turn into something much bigger and catch spark, and then people start taking notice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Very cool. So next year, looking at screenwriting for the Writers Symposium?
So I'm not making any promises.
No, sure.
That's actually one of the things that I'm working on for next year. I hope I can get it to work out. I should say that this year, for the folks that were here, Thomas Dean Donnelly, screenwriter for Doctor Strange, was here with us this year, which was fantastic, right, and wonderful. In fact, he's doing a workshop right now where people are learning how to correct their drafts and make them amazing.
Wait, Mark, did you hear that scream echo across the internet? Why am I not at GenCon right now?
Yes.
Ask yourself that question, friends. Why are you not here right now?
But the good news is that we're doing it again next year.
Next
year will be fantastic too. We're going to do some great things. We're going to have even more panels this year. We did 220 hours. I think it's going to be even bigger next time around. So I hope folks come and join us.
Outstanding. Mark, thank you so much for making the time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Friends, the badassery continues here at GenCon 2016. Yes, it's Sunday. Yes, we're all just a little shagged. And yet the still fabulosity is echoing through the halls. I've got more to share with you yet as the day progresses. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again soon.